What's up, guys? Craig Mack 378 here. I'm coming to you with a new strategy video today, and we're going to be talking about Gruul Aggro. Gruul Aggro is a deck we did choose to play in the Mythic Invitational Qualifier weekend, and unfortunately we didn't get there. But I'm still pretty proud of the deck. Still think it's pretty strong. Lucas Folly, Luke, also ran a deck that's very, very similar. We came to the conclusions pretty much separately. So what I'm going to be doing is going over the deck that we chose to run for the qualifier weekend and the deck that Luke chose to run for the qualifier weekend, and see if I can mash up and come with something that's a little more consistent and maybe the most optimal version. I'm not 100% sure if we will, but we're going to take a shot at it. So why don't you come build with me and we'll check out the card choices. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, let's just jump in here and take a look at some of these decks. So the first thing I'll say is there is a million ways to build Gruul Aggro at the moment. There's so many different types. There's Gruul Warriors, there's Gruul Monsters, there's Gruul that leans really heavy into green, there's Gruul Walkers, which is, the Hold Sarkin, Chandra, Domri, just contingent there. And there's Gruul Aggro. So when I say Gruul Aggro, I mean we are aggro. Like, we are very low to the ground. We are trying to end the game quickly. We are trying to outclass your small creatures and try to destroy you before you set up. So that was the game plan that I had going into the Mythic Invitational Qualifier weekend. I still think that's the right plan, especially with all the Planeswalker piles that are running around there. The red deck, which is, very good, but we can outclass the creatures fairly quickly. We have the same removal suite, barring Wizard Lightning, that sort of thing. So I think the deck was poised well. I don't think, what happened to me was I got matched up against two white weenie decks, which unfortunately I was not prepared for, and they kind of just rolled right over me. So we didn't get there. But so here, let me open the Mack Aggro. This is essentially the list we chose to run. It was off my brain because I deleted it afterwards because it's ticked off. But okay, so shock, Llanowar Elves. So Llanowar Elves is kind of a debate that we're having right now on if this should be the Elves or this should be the Pelt Collector, and we'll get into that afterwards. But I just kind of want to go through the deck. All right, so you'll notice right away off the bat that we're only running 22 lands. The highest thing in our curve right now is 3. So this is a big departure from a lot of the Gruul mid-range decks and the Gruul Walker decks that you see. We're running 4 Shocks, 4 Lightning Strikes, so we have the full removal suite. The Llanowar Elves, which I still think is the best 1-drop in the game when it's not dealt with, and so not everybody has a way to deal with it on turn 1. So anyways, we have 4 of those. Growth Chamber Guardian, just an army in a can. If you get to adapt it once against a red deck, it's really hard for them to catch up. And against control decks, just obviously it's just a constant flow of bodies. Collision Colossus, I wasn't running this card at first, but with the severe aggro of this deck, sometimes it's very helpful to punch through the last, like say 3 points of damage with the trample, the +4/+2. And the 6 damage to a flying target does come in handy against, rather large Hydroid Krasis or Lyra, the Game Ender. So we're running 2 of those. I've seen people running up to 3 or 4. I think Lucas was running 3, but we're running 2 right now. Zhur-Taa Goblin, or however we pronounce this. So it's either this or a split between them and the Thorn Lieutenant. Zhur-Taa is just really good at pressuring Planeswalkers. It's really good at hitting the board and just attacking one of them and doing damage to them. So it's got a more drastic effect on the board immediately. Also, when it comes into play as a 3/3 with the Domri, it can really swing games pretty quickly. I like 4 of them. I could see going 3 and 3 like Luke did, but I'm not 100% sold on it, especially because we're running the Elves and we like to ramp into our 3-mana spells a little bit quicker. So Legion Warboss. Legion Warboss is a card that I found before the return of red was just absolutely broken. I mean, this card just wins so many games nowadays when it's unchecked. I mean, a lot of cards are like that, but this hits the table, automatically making a 1/1, so we're automatically picking off that, Teferi Smalls right away. If you get to untap with this and get a full attack in, Planeswalkers decks have a very difficult time catching up, barring a Deafening Clarion right off the bat. So it's really, really good. Now, let the stage. This is an inclusion that Luke had in his deck. We were running Chandras here, like 2 Chandras and 2 2 Chandras and 2 light up stages, something along those lines of split, right? And it just, Chandra always felt way too slow for this deck. Like, you drop it on turn 4. If you had something else, you would have finished the game, right? And that's where you want to be. You want to be finishing the game. You don't want to be casting something on turn 4, plussing for 1, discarding that card, and then next turn hoping that you hit something. You want to finish the game as soon as possible. Bringing us to Domri, the Anarch of Bolas. Domri here, again, people run 3, sometimes 4. I'm a big believer, and if you want something to hit on turn 2 or turn 3, you should run 4 of them. And if you double these up, it's not that big of a deal because we have the minus ability kind of works as a removal spell, and it also kind of removes himself. So it's not a huge deal. So again, if you want to hit something on turn 2 or turn 3, run 4 of them. That's kind of always been my philosophy in Magic, and I'm not changing now. His static ability makes this deck bananas, right? So the static ability on a Legion Warboss makes a Legion Warboss just ridiculously good. It makes your Llanowar Elves very good. Well, better anyways, not very good, but still, if you can go turn 1 this, turn 2 into Domri, you are so far ahead again in most matchups. It's not even funny. And then obviously the 4 Gruul Spellbreakers, which I still think is one of the best spells in the game, especially with the way the format is now. This hitting with a Domri on board or a Collision Colossus a lot of times ends the games because they can't remove it because of the whole hexproof jargon on the card. Sideboard. So sideboard, 4 Lava Coils. This is a nod to Phoenix's unchecked Wild Growth Walkers, which unfortunately is the bane of us. It's a bane of most decks, but an unchecked Wild Growth Walker will just, you won't win. So we're running the Lava Coils to check that, Phoenix's, that sort of thing. Cindervines, again, you heard me, we're only running 2 of them. I'd run more if turn decks were back. So what I mean by that is Nexus of Fate decks. I'd run more of those. 2 right now for Arclight Phoenix. This card alone pretty much beats Arclight Phoenix. There's no way they can keep up with you by casting spells, and especially if you're the Lava Coils in. Tibalt, just a nod to all the life game. Again, Wild Growth Walkers, blue black decks with Enter the Gods Eternal, if those are the thing. It's just a very good card, and like I'd hate to be stuck out there against a Lyra with nothing. Even one swing from Lyra can change the game. So usually what happens is you'll play a Tibalt, you'll make a guy. If they have the Lyra, they're going to play it. Then they're going to have to swing into Tibalt once to clear him. Sometimes that can win you the game. So like when you're playing against cards that just beat you, you need some way around it. Thrashing Brontodon, 4 of those come in against red. Just the fat ass on the Brontodon helps out a lot. The ability, if they're running Experimental Frenzies, to kill it is pretty good. So these cards come in against those decks a lot, and they help stabilize the board, and they have an upside. Angrath, Captain of Chaos, is an odd choice here. Again, what we were talking about earlier, that when I started this deck, I played around with having 2 Angrath main decks, really, and it was as a finisher. So I had Immortal Sun in this spot, but we usually don't need Immortal Sun. Usually we have enough pressure on the board to kill the Planeswalkers. We don't need to drop a 6 mana Immortal Sun if we can land it. Angrath by himself lands, all your creatures get menaced. So normally, with the way this deck plays out, we're burning things, we're killing things, we're playing threats. So we're getting ahead on the board, and then the Angrath comes down, and it's like, okay, you can block one thing, and usually that's enough to just finish the game. So it makes most of your stuff unblockable. But on top of that, you're going to get a 4/4 out of it. It's routinely going to become a 4/4 creature, and all your creatures have menace. So I'm not 100% sold on it, but I've been very pleased when I've played it, and I haven't regretted playing it once. So we're going to keep testing 2 of that in the sideboard. Now I want to take a look at Luke's deck, because Luke ran this deck too. I ran it in the Invitational, and we came to this deck, like I said, separately. I think we both might have checked each other's stream out a few times, but separately, and and I do respect his deck building skills, and so it's kind of a good problem to have. So Luke and I, our main disagreement, I guess, is the Pelt Collector. And I've seen a post on Twitter about this and about how the loss damage you get with an elf, having an elf rather than a Pelt Collector. And it might be true. The way I look at it is this, is when on turn 1, if I'm going to play a Pelt Collector or an elf, the opponent is going to have a way to deal with it, or they're not. So they're either going to have a shock, or they're going to have a, or if they went first, they're going to have a lightning strike. They're going to have something that has to deal with that elf immediately, or the Pelt Collector immediately. A Pelt Collector unchecked usually will grow to a 2/2, 3/3. That's fine. But what I'm getting at is having an elf on turn 1 allows us to accelerate into Domri, which is just is very backbreaking for many decks. A turn 2 Domri, a turn 2 Spellbreaker, a turn 2 Legion Warboss. These are all pretty much put so much pressure on the opponent immediately that it's hard for them to catch up. Now, Pelt Collector into say like Growth Chamber Guardian or Thorn Lieutenant, that does apply pressure as well, because you're at that point you have to kill a Thorn Lieutenant. This is going to get bigger. Obviously, it's going to be a 2/2, but you're only going to pump this guy once really with the Spellbreaker past that. So I love Pelt Collector, and I've actually tested it a little bit, and I think it's a good card. I just think in this slot, I would rather have an elf. Or I'd rather have both. I'm not sure if we can construct the deck to get them both in there, but I don't think you're losing damage with an elf, especially on turn 1's when the Pelt Collector shines, right? On turn 4, you might as well be drawing an elf. I know there's you can draw a Zhur-Taa or a Thorn Lieutenant and pump that Pelt Collector, but I just don't think the trade-off is worth it, and especially with a Domri in there that can give him a pump, the Llanowar Elf, not the Pelt Collector. It pumps both of them, but you get what I'm getting at. I think the elf is the right choice for this aggressive of a deck. Now, Luke's deck is a little bit different than ours because he's running 8 2-drops, or is that right? 10 2-drops, pardon me. We're running 8. And he's running a split of the Zhur-Taa and the Thorn Lieutenant. So, to each their own. Running the four elves and the 8 2-drops allows us to get up to the 4 light up the stages, which again I really like. And the Domri. So us running the 4 Domris is a big deal, I think, and it allows us to have them more consistently. That being said, they're very similar lists, and I think to each of their own. Now, Luke's sideboard, Direfleet Daredevil. I don't like this card. I've said this millions of times. I think in like a mid-range red deck, it's fine, but like in a Gruul Aggro or a mono red deck, I find it dog shit. Even in the mirror match, like you're waiting to turn 3, most of the time turn 4 to cast it, to have any type of like positive interaction with it. And getting a Thoughtseize on turn 4, okay, you're getting a Thoughtseize on turn 4. I'd just rather have something more aggressive with it. Lava Coil, obviously we both agree on. Kraul Harpooner, which I think is, again, phenomenal card. I'm not sure where it fits in the metagame right now. I don't see Mono Blue that much. I guess it's decent against Big Crassus, but since we're running the Collision Colossus, I don't think it's necessarily needed. That's just me. 2 Cindervines, again, both agree on that. Tibalt, fine. 2 of them. And then the Experimental Frenzy I actually really like out of his board, so that's something that we're going to consider as well. It's really good in grindy matches against control. It makes me wonder why we're not running it. This whole deck makes me wonder why we're not running mono red, but we'll get into that another time. So that's kind of the differences in the deck. I think this is kind of a good mashup of what we're of what we were both trying to do. So yeah, so this is the one we're going to run today. I'm going to run some matches with it. You know what we do? We're going to jump into the ladder. I think the ladder's cycling today. Into the next season, so we're going to be whatever it is, whether we start Diamond or Platinum, and just playing 3 or 4 games, seeing if we can get some decent matchups, and we'll talk about sideboarding those matches when we get there. But yeah, so come jump into some games with me, and hopefully we can get some wins. Thanks a lot, guys. Yes, for Walker deck, and we just kind of steamrolled it. Turn to Legion Warboss, I'll do that to them. They even cried us out once, but it was not enough for them. Seems like a spine hand. I don't like having double Growth Chamber. Growth Chamber is a card that I do waffle on sometimes, but it is so strong when you can activate it. White Howl. Hello, White Howl. All right, well, we're going to need some more mana. All right, so we're going to do that. That was not what I wanted to do, guys. I was just moving that card over to here. Accidentally played it. Didn't even haste it, so there's that. All right, another one. Great. Great. I would have liked anything other than that. We need a land. We could use the land last turn. Narset, the Potter of the Vales. Just gonna go like this. Make him have the cry here. And even the cry is not so bad since he's a 3/3, so maybe that was a blessing in disguise. I could have just adapted this one, but I like to establish some type of board beforehand, especially if they don't have Kaya's Wrath. Time Reveler's no big deal. Interesting call. Especially to bounce that. A land off the top here makes me a happy man. There we go. I'm going to go Domri. Just to use the passive. Normally, now guys, I would be adapting my Growth Chamber Garden if I didn't have two other ones in my hand. So there's that. No Kaya's Wrath. Even a Kaya's Wrath here is not. I mean, it's obviously not the end of the game. End of the world for us. But yeah, all right. So good game. That's what I mean. Like I even played that really dog shit, but like you just kind of roll them. I mean, you just gotta roll over Esper decks. All right. Last season, man, it was the timing of it was very poor for my family. We had a week off from school in the last week, so I literally did not play at all. Signed on this morning to see if I could make top 1,000 and realized I decayed in about the 90, like low 90s, which is crazy if you think about it. The amount of time you have to put in to make top 1,000, but yeah, like I guess you can't take a week off for the end. That seems fine. All right, so we got a red deck here. Okay, kill it if you want. We don't really care if he kills it. The only thing it cost us was 2 life. That's great. Okay. Alright, so this guy kept a 1-lander. Probably without a light up the stage. So we're just going to kill this now. Because I don't agree with that play. If you have just the light up the stage in your hand and one way to do 1 damage, the Firebrand, do the damage to me. I always say kill the elf, but that one seems a little rushed. You got to consider your hand. Oh, good for him. I am happy for him. Not really. You know, the amount of times I've been land screwed. Come on. I'm gonna put some pressure on. Let's hope we don't blank here. This is good. Especially if he doesn't, because he's got to cast a creature, so we know we're going to adapt it. It's just Murphy's Law, man. You draw a Growth Chamber Guardian, the next one you draw is going to be a Growth Chamber Guardian. The bad news is we know his hand's gas, right? Or their hand's gas because they kept a 1-lander. So every card in his hand is a spell. It's fine. It's quite a pickle you're in here, buddy. Unless he's got another land, he's in a pickle. We'll be blocking that Seamkin all day too. All right, GG's. Well, there we go. All right, we'll keep it. Seems like a good one. Seems like the first hand we've had that's been actually decent, which is never a good never a good way to want to start for the real false god on a video. Dun dun dun. Uh-oh, that's a dead elf, anyways, man. Be a dead elf, no matter what it was. It'd be a dead pelt collector or a dead elf. So that doesn't really tell us much. Again, they have a way to deal with the elf, so it is gone. Fair enough. Now please use 2 cards. Ote. Seems fine. We're getting flooded out a little bit lately. Last match especially, we didn't see that one. But come on, brother. I have no idea what this guy's thinking. I'm going to save this shock, so I'm going to fight here. Opens up Domri, but look, that's kind of what Domri does anyways, right? Might as well, it's just a 3-mana removal spell at that point. Again, 2 cards for 1. Man, Frenzy. Aggressive Frenzy. But we are drawing lands, so if we had any type of business past this, I mean, like, as long as you can't double up the removal spell here, we should be okay. Alright, so upkeep. There's the first part of that. Thank the Lord. Always a risky maneuver, that one. I understand why we do it, but very risky. Again, I wish that was a... We need another creature here. We need another threat. Okay. Shock. Come on, creatures, man. Have some creatures for once. You know? Interesting. Like, I would have hit Domri. I'm going to hang on to that. We're going to fight. This should just be ball game. Never slow roll him. Show him you got it. I mean, I guess you could kill the Domri in response. Okay, good games. There you go. There's 3 matches, guys. I'm going to cut it short.